maybe.
Yes. Yes. Tom may not be with us tonight. He's got COVID.
Oh, that's bad luck. Has he avoided it so far?
Well, he did, and
But
he
can't-
and Bev are in Rochester, New York, visiting their daughter and her family. And Tom arrived. He had it, so he's isolating at a hotel.
And he's probably not feeling too great either.
Right.
It's tough when one's traveling and one gets it and one's stuck in a hotel room. I think we had the same.
You know, yes.
Makes it more complicated.
For sure.
Sawadika Ajahn, I think you're here now.
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ
ท่านอาจารย์
สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์สวัสดีครับ
คุณแอนสบายดีนะคะ
สบายดีค่ะสบายดีนี่เมื่อวานนี้โควิดค่ะวัคซีนก็วันนี้
ทุกแจบเลยครับ
ค่ะวันนี้รู้สึกไม่ค่อยสบายค่ะแต่ที่จริงสบายดีมาก
It was a very unenthusiastic sabai.
Well, yeah, I'm feeling how you can be quite foggy afterwards. Yeah.
Tadao, do you have anything you would like to bring up today?
Yeah, I have one question, which is about Virya and Kanti. Virya and Kanti are the same Chetasika, yeah? And while Virya takes place with Ksara and Aksara Chittas, yeah? But Kanti occurs only with Sarachitta. And I do not understand why Kanti doesn't occur with Aksara Chitta. That's my question.
I think it depends on the context. For example, if we're talking about the paramis, often Kanti comes up in the context of the paramis. So of course, when we're talking about the paramis, both the virya and the Kanti are with regard to kusala chittas with understanding. So both are kusala. But in other contexts, like you say, virya can be kusala, akusala, vipaka, or kiriya. There's virya at almost every moment in life, with almost every chitta, apart from 16 ahetuka chittas. And the way that Ajahn has explained it is when that virya is the energy or the effort is very strong. For example, when one's making a lot of effort to do up one's shoelaces, or when one's cutting the Japanese food very finely, then it's the strong effort is kanti. So this could be kusala or akusala. So it depends on the context, but I'm sure Ajahn can add more.
Is there Viriya now? That's why we have to consider to understand each reality which is now covered up because of its rapidity, arising and falling away. Just learn to understand the truth until one can be the object of understanding unexpectedly, because we have developed understanding of the truth, but it's not ready yet to understand moment when it's there. For example, right now, is there virya to understand that it's not anyone at all? It has its own characteristic, but there are many levels of all kinds of Dhamma. That's why what can be known by panya only, not by just thinking and considering without at the moment when it's there. So now, from learning about the truth, is there virya now? In order to understand khanti and virya, is there virya now? It's time to have more understanding, to let go the idea of clinging to that which is not self, because it is just a reality, different from the other one. It has its own characteristic. And right now, is there virya to understand the difference between virya and khanti? If there is no understanding of virya or khanti, how can it be known? It's true. Lopa is so very, very subtle, and then when it can be known, it's not as subtle as when it's not can be known, like aswa and kilesa. Even in Lopa, it's different. Can we use the same level to same word for each level? It's impossible. So now, is there virya? If there's no understanding of virya right now, is there khanti right now? What is the difference? Different level, but it's there as virya, like lopa, kama, sarupa, rakha, arupa, rakha, sangyojana. They are all different by degrees of whatever is conditioned. So we just talk about the dhammas there now in order to be able to understand it clearly, that it's there, it's not known. When we enjoy pleasant feeling, is that virya? In what way? When one bears the pain, it's quite so hard, but there can be the understanding of it. Is it at level of khanti? No matter what is there happening, it cannot stop the understanding of the truth and so on. That's why learning just to understand what is there now, because only when it's there, it can be directly experienced. So now, there is virya at moment of hearing, considering, or so very rapidity arising and falling away. Nothing can be known exactly or clearly, but learn to understand what is there, to understand the truth. It cannot be taken for anyone because it just arises and falls in split seconds, on and on and on. That's why hearing, considering the truth in order to understand what is there now, because it's now, what is there is taken as I, no matter how short it is, how very, very little it is, but it's there, unknown. That's why learn to understand whatever is there. Just to understand what we have learned is right now to be understood. Otherwise, it's useless thinking about no one. But what is there now? As long as it's there as something, if it hasn't eradicated the idea of something, how can it be known as no self? That's why no self is now, virya is now, and other realities when it's there, arising and falling away so rapidly. So how can it be known until panya is keen enough to understand the benefit of hearing, considering the truth, just to begin to be aware with understanding by conditions unexpectedly of what is there now. For example, there is seeing from the book. Is there viriya with seeing? So it's so very rapidly arising and falling away. No one can know that seeing doesn't arise with viriya, but at moment of liking, so short after it has fallen away, there must be viriya. See, that's right. Just learning to understand the truth of our dhammas in order to let go the idea of self and what is meant by confidence, adidana, satya, is now at this moment. It's not far away. The satya to understand the truth is the truth. It's not just learn about it without understanding the truth of it right now. The confidence is there at moment of understanding that it's here and now that can be known. So what we learn can be moment of understanding of what is there as natural as is there now, like seeing, thinking, liking, doubting, whatever is there, to eradicate the very subtle reality which is akusala, and later on even is kusala, no clinging to anything at all. The point is understand what is there now, little by little, that now there must be viriya. At what time, it's not known. But at moment of seeing, who knows how many jittas are there after seeing, liking, attaching, and what is there? Unknown. Until the characteristic of what we have heard in life, that is not self because it can experience an object. And that is not anything because it cannot experience anything. But if there's no reality which arises to experience, nothing can be there at any time at all. Learn to understand the truth, and the truth, the understanding of the truth, develop gradually, little by little, to understand what is there in life now, so natural, because there must be Dhamma anytime, from moment to moment. But now, viriya does not appear, but we learn about viriya. It's there after moment of seeing, but it's not known, little by little. At moment of doing something, it can be moment of beginning to understand when it is viriya appearing. But when viriya does not appear like now, it's impossible to understand what we have learned about viriya. So at moment of trying to do something so hard, see, when the situation is not preferable, like if the knife is not as sharp, can it cut the meat, that's very tough meat? Impossible. That's why at that moment it's the viriya, at that moment to be known that it's there. And when it's time, at moment of hardness or not very preferable moment to understand that, there cannot be condition to understand it. But when at moment of trying so hard, what about understanding of viriya? It's time to understand what we have learned, to let go little by little, at moment of beginning to understanding a characteristic which is there now as it is, one by one, little by little. So very little, but there is the understanding at that moment that it's there, it's hard, it's there, it's smell, it's there, it's sound, and so on in life. So at this moment of hearing and considering, is there viriya or whether it is khanti, different degrees, that's all. So it's not just viriya, but it's so very subtle and very difficult to even understand the meaning of what is there now that can be known. But at this moment, what can be known? Seeing. So Viriya is moment of listening about it. And at moment of being, moment of studying the characteristic which experiences, even this word, is it quite the object of understanding? It experiences, see, but not many moments of thinking about it enough to understand its truth. That's why it takes quite a long time to begin to understand it naturally, but not with will or cetana, because cetana is not the factors of enlightenment at all. But at the moment, no matter what, even they're seeing right now, they can be aware of an object, hardness, or sound, depending on conditions. No expectation, no intention to try to do anything, because that is wrong path, not leading to understand the truth as no one and nothing at all. That's why even right now, it's not clear understanding of seeing yet, but there is the understanding of that which experiences little by little in life. At moment of viriya, it is the reality which experiences that object of viriya too. That's why just understanding what is there, little by little, the difference between pariyati and the patipatti, because now whatever is there can be object of understanding at different levels. It can be the object of understanding the nature of it. At that moment, just begin to understand the difference between pariyati and patipatti. And at that moment, it let go just only that. But so much ignorance about whatever is there now, from moment to moment in life, is still there. That's why it takes time to let go. Clinging to the self, to think, at any time when there's no understanding. So, at moment of viriya, when viriya is there to be known, the moment of understanding khanti is at that very moment when it's there to be known. It's so hot, but can we walk around by conditions? Why? Many situations at any time, they are all Dhamma, different situations, different degrees all the time. That's why the understanding right now develops gradually, very little, to have more confidence of no one here at all. That's all. That's all. And then many conditions, reality arising after that understanding. And then there can be moment of understanding again, hearing again, considering, just to understand what we have heard that it's there now. So now, seeing is there, viriya is there. How much understanding of it? At the moment of hearing and considering, to condition moment of understanding the truth, the characteristic of whatever is there as not self, little by little. So the experience is all there. It doesn't matter to develop the understanding of seeing or hearing at will, but to understand gradually about the characteristic of that which experiences naturally until it is more direct to an object. It's the beginning to understand it. The understanding of seeing right now, whether it is direct understanding of that which sees or not yet, depending on conditions. Depending on conditions, that's the way to let go, clinging to the self. So is there self now? Is there wanting? to do something, to understand something, or at that moment there is virya too, but it's not known until it appears to moment of awareness directly with understanding what is there, beginning to understand that what we are talking about is so true right now, but depends on whether it appears to right understanding or not. At moment of virya, everyone knows, but not understanding the truth that it's not anyone at all, but it's there and it's known. I try and I try. It's very hard. See, different degrees.
John has usefully brought us back to the present moment, which gives the answer to all questions that arise. And I'd like to add some more general comments to Tadal's question, because I think it's an important one. Not all of the mental states that are mentioned in the teachings have a corresponding single mental factor. I'm thinking, for example, of one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, and I think it's mudita, which doesn't have its own mental factor. It is an aspect of metta, I suppose. Anyway, it's a reference to kusala citta. And it doesn't matter that it's not a reference to a single specific mental factor, because it corresponds to a particular aspect of kusala. That's all. And so it is, I think, with patience, khanti, as used by the Buddha. It is always a reference to kusala. And it's linked, it is related to virya, because patience implies or involves endurance, enduring a difficult situation or an unpleasant situation. And that needs strength of the virya kind, effort. So without virya, there cannot be patience. And you asked why virya, why patience, rather, khanti cannot be a kusala. Well, in conventional, as we use patience conventionally, of course, it refers to both kusala and akusala kinds of patience. The example often given is the sniper waiting for the target to arrive. And in conventional usage, there's no concept of wholesome mental states and unwholesome mental states as being relevant. But as used by the Buddha, it's a reference to wholesome mental state. And that, in that particular aspect, that requires endurance or forbearance or an effort to not to do something that would otherwise be done without patience arising.
Yeah, in Buddhism, yeah, khanti, patience is emphasized very much. And is it because Buddhism is the teaching of anatta, non-self? So to progress in Buddhism, yeah, khanti, patience is essential. Without khanti, we cannot make any progress. Can we say that? Is it right to say so?
Well, patience is necessary for everyone anyway. For example, queuing or this and that requires patience, doesn't it? Not to jump ahead of the queue. But in terms of the Dhamma, to assign it a specific reason for its importance, I think is a bit speculative. I would say it's because it's necessary in life that it's given emphasis in the teaching.
I think we can say that without patience, understanding can never develop. Without patience, there cannot be the listening and considering to the truth about realities now. There cannot be the wise reflection. There cannot be the patience to understand whatever is conditioned, rather than I trying to do something, or I looking for a shortcut, or I trying to get rid of akusala. So understanding depends on patience in order to develop. That's why it's a parami and has to be developed with understanding to support the understanding to develop on and on.
And I think in this regard, patience goes hand in hand with confidence in the teaching. With those two factors combined, make it possible for one not to get led astray by the wish to develop understanding more quickly, to follow a practice, to do this or that, to expect results and that sort of thing. Both factors are important. And patience is kusala if it's based on confidence in the teaching.
Okay, thank you very much. It's clear to me now.
Now, to be truthful to the truth, would you like to understand the word or the characteristic of the reality?
Both.
Both, really, more than that. Everything is object of clinging, anything. Yeah. But when you say the word kusala and akusala, it seems like one knows kusala and akusala. But in truth, kusala is a reality and akusala is a reality. Is it known now as kusala or akusala?
Yes.
Even the word we are used to think that there is the understanding of what is there. But the truth is that when it does not appear as the object, is it the understanding of it, or just remember the meaning of it? For example, at moment of giving, is giving kusala?
Yes.
Really? It can be said. But what moment is kusala? See, at moment of seeing, not understanding the truth of it, and when there is the idea to give, different moment, can it be known as what and when is kusala? Just being able to say this is kusala and that is akusala, but in truth, when and what is it? The seeing is not kusala. Is it known? At moment of giving, stretching out the hand, is it kusala? That's why learning what is kusala is to understand the reality which is there. As it is not the word, but just that. And then we have to use the word to represent the reality, which is different from moment to moment, just to know that it is kusala. But what about at moment of giving? There is seeing too, and thinking about the object to give to, and so on. That's why not just to understand the word, but to understand the reality as not self, no matter it is kusala or akusala. is that which experience or that which cannot experience. Otherwise, the word can cover up the truth at that moment. Try to think about what is it in words, but the nature, the characteristic of that which is no one at all in any world, any time, at moment of birth, after death, all are realities that can be known, can be, but whether it's known right now, that which experiences in the day, being so very joyful or very painful or very, very attached to what is there, or very, very proud of I, and so on. They're all dhammas to be experienced, the truth that it's not there anymore. It's there by conditions and then falls away instantly. So how can it be known in words, but to understand by words that has been studied, to be firm enough, more confidence, to be confident to what is there now, to be known, but it's not known yet. That's why we talk about it in details, to let go the attachment in different angles or aspects, little by little all around, to be able to understand the truth of what is there now as it's the moment of experiencing right now. So many things, so many realities arising and falling away, unknown. We're just talking about them. But can it be directly known as it is, as we have learned? Just hardness. Only that is there. Everything is there. So very close, not far away at all. Before there can be the understanding of what is there so close, it has to be enough right understanding of what is it, when is it, and where is it, to let go the table, the chair, the bed that we are sitting or lying down. That's right. Even just, we don't talk about Viriya, but even now, whether it's Nama and Rupa, it's only the word, or it's moment of understanding, it's different levels of understanding. And no matter we talk about Viriya, but when Viriya is not there, can it be known? But when it's there, not enough understanding, no thought about the nature of it as no one and no thing, it's just hardness. It's not there. Not enough conditions. Until the conditions is enough to condition moment of beginning to understand what is there right now as it is, as nimitta. Thinking about the meaning of as nimitta. So what about the real world of truth? To be directly experienced little by little, stage by stage, clearer and clearer, until the moment of experiencing the arising and falling away of nimitta. So it means that what is now experienced is not clear at all, only the nimitta of everything. But the truth we are talking about is there, so rapidly arising and falling away all the time. And this is the only way to lead the idea about everything back to this moment of reality, which is there. Opanayiko. Travel so far by dreaming about everything, back closer and closer to the truth. It's there now, thinking, or it's there now, seeing. Is that the point, the end of listening to the truth? Otherwise, it's always far away and far away and far away from the truth right now.
But I think it's it takes time. Chirakara Bhavana. So I cannot think so much about results. All I can do is have a lot of patience, kanti.
And kusala patience, is kusala patience something that can be done? So if we say, I'm going to have patience and not expect immediate quick results, is that possible?
I don't think it's good idea to have some kind of expectation of results. If you have such expectation, you do not have kanti as parami.
That's true, but these things arise by conditions, don't they? There is, the reason there's expectation for results is that a combination of an accumulated tendency to be impatient and also accumulated wrong view that it's possible to gain results by dint of our effort in the conventional sense. So it's good to recognize that such ideas, if they occur, are akusala and possibly wrong view also. But it's not possible to say that it won't happen again. It's bound to happen from time to time, or it's bound to be there continually in the background even. And the development of the path is all about understanding whatever appears at the present moment. So we don't have to think of such tendencies or expectations as being an obstacle to the development of understanding, as long as they are not so strong that they condition wrong practice.
No, I have a different idea. Expectation is not good at all, because Buddhism is a teaching of non-self. And in a sense, you cannot do anything. Means that the most important factor in Buddhism is sati and panyaya. And to my understanding, the second most important thing is patience, kanti. Without kanti, you cannot make any progress. So
Well,
having patience and having expectations are two different things, two opposing factors.
that's right, but there can be accumulated tendency for each of those, and sometimes one will arise and sometimes the other. And it's not possible to influence which is going to arise when or in what proportion the two will occur. So having the expectation that expectations can be reduced is another expectation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it can be a trap, leading one to even to wrong practice. For example, when it is noticed that expectations arise, there is the thought of suppressing it. But that's not the path taught by the Buddha either. It's not suppression of akusala that brings one closer to the goal. It is just understanding anything about any reality that is appearing at the present moment.
Yeah, I think Kanti as a parami, Kanti parami has nothing to do with expectation. If we have expectation or wish, some kind of wishing, then it's not Kanti at all. You are not developing Kanti as parami.
Well, it's correct to say that if there's a kusala, there can't be kusala at the same moment. But on the other hand, hearing the teaching and considering the wisdom that the Buddha imparted in his description of the world as it is at the present moment, and that is why Ajahn always brings us back to the present moment, because it's easy to think of these akusala tendencies as being a hindrance. And one then may think of the need to reduce or suppress the akusala tendencies in order for the development of understanding to be furthered. But that's a kind of wrong thinking. And it's important to keep in mind that it is just what is appearing at the present moment that can be the object of understanding. And that can be the case whether what is appearing at the present moment is an unwholesome mental state or a rupa, visible object or sound. And that's what's important.
Yeah, the point I'm making is that if we accept that Buddhism is the teaching of non-self and it's Chirakala Bhavanaya, then we have to accept that we have to have tremendous amount of patience as parami. And once we accept that notion that it requires parami, Kanti parami, then there wouldn't be much expectation. It's what I'd like to say.
Mm-hmm. But that I think we can say once we accept that, then there won't be the expectation. Is that really how things work? Because if one has the tendency to have expectations or to be impatient, then coming to the intellectual acceptance of the importance of patience and kusala doesn't mean that those unwholesome tendencies no longer arise, because they've been accumulating. They will continue to arise. And it's only as the path is developed that Kanti becomes also more developed. It's not as though Kanti is needed first and then the path can be developed. They go hand in hand, like with other wholesome tendencies.
No, expectation becomes a burden. It's better not to have too much expectation. It's very tiring.
Why do we have expectation in the first place?
We have a faith in Buddhism, Buddha's teaching. So it's better just practice without expecting any results.
Can that expectation be avoided? Can it not arise?
If one has Kanti, may not have many moments of expectation.
Though you see Kanti as a way of countering the expectations.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
What would happen? What would be the case if nevertheless expectation continued to arise?
It's by condition. It's,
Right.
It depends
Exactly.
on the accumulation.
Yes. And the development of Kanti is also by conditions.
Yeah.
So just resolving to have more Kanti and less expectations cannot bring about any meaningful development of kusala and lessening of akusala, because both happen by conditions.
No, like all the elements of parami, they are supported by wisdom, panya.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
And what panya is that supports all those and purifies all those kinds of kusala?
it's what I'd like to know. In fact, I'm writing a chapter on parami and writing a section on Kanti. And eventually, I have to write a section on panya. And
It seems to me that at one moment you're saying that the development of understanding requires the paramis, and then the next minute you're saying that the paramis require understanding. So which is which?
No, they are all interrelated.
They are. And none of them can be controlled or influenced by any decision or resolution that might be made, or one or the other.
No. Anyway, the point I'd like to make is that patience is a very important factor for practicing Buddhism, because it's a of non-self.
And what does it mean to practice Buddhism?
Developing sati and panya without any notion of self.
Right. So sati and panya have to develop by conditions, not by any idea of anyone practicing sati and panya. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah.
So it requires patience, kanti.
A lot of patience.
Yeah.
I think the more one understands about the Dhamma, the more one realizes that it doesn't fit neatly into chapters in a book. And those who manage to do something, and I encourage you to continue with your work, but it's not capable of being simply explained, because it's all so interrelated, as you said. But of course, in order to help people to come to some appreciation of the Dhamma, it needs to be set out bit by bit as chapters in a book. But really, it's all so interrelated that the more one understands the Dhamma, the more one appreciates that this is so, as we've just seen.
Yeah, everything comes to this moment of
Quite so, as Ajahn frequently reminds us. Sometimes when she reminds us, we don't see the relevance of that to the question, but it's always the answer to every question.
Yeah, like Kanti and Vidya. Yeah, it's all related to this moment.
And what reality is expectations?
It's loba.
And there's going to be loba on and on and on for a very long time. So even when Kanti is being developed and the other paramis with understanding, loba is always round the corner. So expectations are bound to be there, wishing, hoping, wanting.
Yeah,
So
all the time.
all by conditions.
Yeah.
Different moments.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Ajahn and Jonathan both mentioned about the confidence, the adhitthana to know the truth, the satya. And the other day, Ajahn was also talking about the how the path depends on the confidence in the truth and whether there is enough attention to what is there, which is arising and falling away now. So this is quite interesting, Ajahn, because from the dictionary, from the Pali term adhitati means to stand firmly or be determined. So usually adhitthana is translated as determination or resolution, but confidence has a slightly different meaning, quite a different meaning, but there has to be the confidence and the determination to understand what is true with Kanti and Panya, as you've said, Tadao, in order for the understanding to keep developing on and on. So all these paramis work together.
In my case, confidence in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha are not strong enough. But I have a very strong confidence in my understanding that other than this method or method may not be a good term, but other than developing Sati and Panya at this moment, there is no other way of attaining Nibbana. It's my firm confidence.
And the confidence is conditioned by understanding. So the more understanding there is only the truth at this moment, and there are only realities which arise and fall away now, no one there, nothing there. The more that confidence and determination that this is the truth develops on and on. So without understanding, there cannot be any adhitthana parami, any kanti parami, any paramis at all.
Yeah. Good. Thank you very much. Hi, Jonathan. Writing a book is not a bad thing to do because it may benefit my audience, but also it helps me to clarify my understanding of Dhamma.
Yes, I'm sure it does. No, it's a good thing to do. As you say, it benefits others and benefits oneself. And I find the same with writing to the discussion list. It helps a lot for me, as well as hopefully others. And the same when joining in discussions too. Mutually beneficial. But we must remember the goal is always to better understand the Dhamma.
Yeah.
And to share one's understanding with others.
Yeah.
So we may fall short in perfection in terms of our writing and explaining, but we do the best we can.
Yeah.
Perhaps Ajahn would like to add some comments about what we've been discussing these last few minutes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Ajahn, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Is it right to say we have to accept?
So now I think that's a question for you.
Yes. What does it mean, accept? Accept the truth? What is that?
I think acceptance, Ajahn, requires understanding if it's to be true acceptance and kusala.
So even one says to accept it, what does it mean? With understanding or without understanding? The same as other word. Kanti and parami. Do we have to accept or understand it as it's the moment of understanding? When we say it takes quite a long, long time, no one can know exactly when right understanding can be very sharp to understand the truth of that which is now arising and following, depending on the understanding at moment of saying about Kanti and Viriya. Usually there is Viriya all the time, unknown. But when it's stronger with difficulty, then it appears as it is Viriya to do, but it takes quite a long time to have such and such goal. That's why it is Kanti. So can there be Kanti every moment, in every moment? Or it is Viriya of different degrees and understanding the great Kanti is to understand what is there now as it is. That is the understanding what is meant by Kanti, to realize the truth, to experience what is there as it really is. That's why it's not a matter of words, but it's moment of what is there as it is. No matter we're talking about what term, what word,
Have we lost Ajahn?
Hello, testing.
Jonathan, we heard you testing. At least I heard
Thanks. Are you hearing Ajahn speak?
you. No,
No. Are you hearing anything else?
no.
We weren't sure if it was us or I think we've lost Ajahn temporarily.
There.
Ajahn, I think we've lost you. Would you mind trying your microphone off and on again, please? Thank you.
She's not there.
Oh, she's gone altogether, has she? Okay, her connection is gone.
Oh, dear.
Just while she's gone, I was going to go over the basics of the topic that Lucas brought up last week, but even though there's Ajahn back, so maybe afterwards. Are you here again, Ajahn? I think we lost you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you
Yes.
now, Ajahn.
Yeah.
Yes. Go on, please.
Well, while you were just while we lost you, I was going to mention to the others that I was going to go over the basics of the topic Lucas brought up last week. I was reminded because Tadao mentioned the word method, and Lucas was bringing up about the word Naya, often translated as method. But as Ajahn explained, it actually refers to different aspects like studying the Dhamma by way of the khandhas or by way of the ayatanas or by way of different parts of the Tipitaka. This is Naya. And Lucas repeatedly was mentioning about the 4 oceans and mentioning about the understanding of the depth of the Abhidhamma by way of the 4 oceans. And the first one is Samsara Sagaro, the ocean of repeated births, referring to the countless births on and on and on without any beginning. And the second one refers to the ocean of waters, referring to the great depth and the immeasurable nature of the great mass of water. And the third one, which he was particularly referring to, Naya Sagaro, is often translated as the ocean of method. But this is referring to the Tipitaka, the 3 Pitakas, the word of the Buddha, the teachings that only the Buddha could explain, and for those with understanding of the teachings, how there is great joy. So I think he was thinking about the method to study the teachings, but actually Naya Sagaro is referring to the aspect of the Tipitaka, the details of the Buddha's teachings, which are there for those to understand the truth. So it's not a method in the sense of someone doing something or someone following something, but it is the way of explaining the teachings. And the fourth one that he referred to, Jnana Sagaro, is the ocean of knowledge. And this refers to the omniscient wisdom of the Buddha, the ocean of knowledge, which the Buddha penetrated and which we find in the Abhidhamma. So it's an example of understanding what is meant about the truths now, not something to be followed or a method to be applied at all. So whatever we read in the text, this was from the Attasalani, the commentary to the Dhammasangani, it has to be about the understanding of the truth right now. And this understanding is conveyed in different aspects. And this is what the Naya is referring to.
So now there is the understanding that Naya is not method, right?
It's not something to do at all. When the word method is used in translation, it doesn't mean it's something to be done. It's just pointing to the aspect of teaching, whether it's khandhas or ayatanas or the patana or this part of the Tipitaka. It is just the way that the Buddha taught the Dhamma in different aspects, in different manners, that's all. So the point is, whatever word is used in translation, it has nothing to do with anyone following a method or doing anything at all. But if it's the wrong Naya, the wrong understanding of Naya, then immediately it's taken as something to do. And I think Lucas mentioned the word shortcut. This is the opposite of the real meaning of Naya. The real meaning is there's no shortcut at all, nothing that anyone can do to speed up the development of understanding because it's conditioned. And I think you said last week that understanding Naya means understanding reality, because if there's no understanding of reality, that what is conditioned is not permanent, it's bound to be misunderstood as something or someone doing something.
When we understand what is the meaning of Naya, so now we can use the word Naya, right? Because
Yes,
the meaning of it. So now, by Naya of flood, can it be?
yes, it can be by way of flood or yes.
So what is flood? By Naya of flood. So what is flood? Otherwise, even that is a Naya of flood. If it's not understand, it's useless. No matter in what Naya, it's for understanding by that Naya. By Naya of flood, by Naya of aswa, and so on. Any aspect is the Naya of the truth to be studied, to understand all around the truth, to really have no doubt about it anymore. That's why we can talk about realities by Naya of flood. And flood is what? Are we now in flood? See? So flood is ignorance, right? No matter it is the flood of clinging to the sensuous object, kamoka, avichoka is the ignorance, or is flood on and on and on.
The flood of attachment and the flood of ignorance.
That's right, the same as aswa.
Yep, and the flood of wrong view too.
But by way of aswa, it's so very quick that no one can understand it because it's so very subtle. For example, avijjasva right now, of that which appears, or pavasva, clinging to I all the time, or kamasva, no matter what appears through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, the attachment is there. This is by way of oka.
This is by way of ogas. So this is Naya Oga. It is the ogas, the Naya by way of ogas. But when it's referring to the oceans, which Lucas was referring to, then it's not referring to the flood. It's referring to the oceans in the sense of the limitless depth, the limitless great wisdom. So this is Naya by way of oceans, different from Naya by way of ogas. But by way of ogas, it is the clinging and the ignorance now, as you say.
So flood is on shore or in the ocean.
Flood is everywhere.
See, that's why beginning to understand the depth of the word, which represents truth of reality, different levels, different ways. If one doesn't realize that one is flooded all the time by that which appears away in the ocean so deep, how can it come up to get out from that, not be in flood or ocean anymore? So the ocean or flood to where? On and on to what? Ocean of ignorance, not offshore. See, we can walk, but they're flooded in the ocean, deeper and deeper too, down and down and down.
And when it talks about
darker and darker.
When it talks about the ocean of the Tipitaka and all the details and the teachings taught by the Buddha, but what is it that is taught by the Buddha? It is about the floods now, the asavas now, the realities now, that the akusala that overwhelms now, no matter on land or at sea or anywhere. Unlimited.
When there's no ignorance at all, can there be flood or be flooded?
Impossible. Once ignorance has been eradicated, then there's no flood at all.
So they're very similar then, aren't they? The oka, the flood and the ocean, one, right?
Yes.
Yes. It's all yes.
When we talk about flood, we think of water or what?
I do. A lot of things coming very quick, a lot of a volume of something coming very quickly.
And even the last one, when it refers to the ocean of knowledge, the great wisdom of the Buddha, the omniscient wisdom of the Buddha, I think it's to show the just great extent, the limitless extent, the degree that cannot be overestimated, because which can be known, and it's not understood because of the flood of ignorance. But here the ocean is referring to the limitless extent that cannot be understood.
And that is another naya, right? And sometimes the seeing and ignorance is a naya. Excuse me. Is ocean. See, the ocean of not understanding, the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. So seeing is the ocean too. Ocean of ignorance, ocean that it's there in the day, how much it is, but it's not known. It's just like ocean of ignorance and ocean of clinging and ocean of right understanding, different ones, different names.
And the first one,
realities.
and the first one, the ocean of samsara, showing how limitless that ignorance is, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, unless the ignorance is eradicated. It also shows the great extent of the ignorance.
That's why each verse should be studied carefully. Even just one word, ocean and flood. Like all dhammas are anatta, but only that which is conditioned to rise and fall away is sankhara dhamma. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. See, even they are Dhammas.
And whichever Naya is being referred to, whether it's Khandas or Ayatanas or Arya Satchas or Dhatu, it's just referring to the different aspects about the realities now, such as ignorance. And because so much ignorance has been accumulated, there has to be the listening, the hearing, the considering about the truths by way of all these different Nayas, these different aspects, because it's not enough just to hear about the Khandas, or it's not enough just to hear about Dhatus. So that's why there are so many different Naya, different aspects or ways of presenting the teachings by way of suttas, by way of Abhidhamma, by way of Vinaya, and so on. So it takes a lot of considering to really consider what the meaning is.
For now, seeing is real, right? One Naya. All Dhammas are real. It's conditioned to arise and pass away. But at moment of understanding, what is Dhamma is false, not real. Because it's not that anymore, sunyata. By panya, which realize the truth, to know that even what we take for real is so very short. When it's gone, is it still real? It's real only when it's there. But when it's gone, see, is it still real? Another Naya. That's why many words in Tipitaka can be studied and understand the meaning of it by different Naya.
And it all comes back to understanding what the reality is now in order to understand what the Naya is. Otherwise, there's bound to be the wanting to do something or wanting to follow a method or this or that. So it always has to come back to the understanding of the truth now and the patience that Tadao was mentioning and the confidence in what is true and right now. Otherwise, one can read about Naya and go completely astray.
Which is what people want to do. They want a method.
They're looking for something in the Tipitaka, like here in the Abhidhamma. They're looking for something to justify following a technique or a shortcut or getting a quick result.
Right, like the Satipatthana Sutta. That's a
Or
big one.
Anapanasati Sutta, yes.
Yes.
Alberto, do you have anything you'd like to add on this topic or any topic?
Everybody, I was thinking about it's another topic about the world of nimitta and the dream world, and how can how the world of nimitta can be the world of understanding, but the dream world can only be the world of ignorance. It's the different Naya of I think even the same word can have different can be explained with different Nayas, like nimitta, such a very how do you say, a word which can include almost anything, but it can have different meaning. Maybe Ajahn can talk more about nimitta and and when there is the dream world, is still nimitta, but it's not the world of. Is the it has to be with the ignorance. Not sure, Ajahn, if I made my point is clear. The understanding of nimitta and taking the nimitta for something, for not understanding the nimitta. Can you talk yet more about nimitta? Because as I see it, it's when there is some understanding, it's by understanding the nature of the nature of nimitta, and when there is no understanding, it's still not understanding the nature of nimitta, but it's by way of nimitta anyway, by way of what appears as not as being still there after it has fallen and after it has fallen away, after it's gone. Appears as it's still there, and that is not understanding the nimitta.
If there is no reality at all, can there be nimitta? Can you hear
no
me?
Reality. Yes, Ajahn. Yeah, no reality, no nothing.
So,
even nimitta.
Is there seeing right now?
Yes, it's there.
Is there anything which is seen?
Yes.
But what is seen now is so many things, or just one tiny that which is seen? What is seen now? Many, many things at once, right? As it is, as it appears, as nimitta of many moments of seeing, right? Because seeing just see that which impinges on the eye base. What is at the back is not seen at all. It does not impinge on the eye base. So it cannot condition the seeing to arise to see it. But now, at moment of seeing, just now, there are so many realities, nimitta of many moments of that which is seen, right? Because each thing which is now appearing must impinge on the eye base. That which doesn't impinge on the eye base cannot be seen. So what is seen now? Can we count how many things, shape and form, not just only a very tiny object that can be seen, not hardness, not softness, not heat, not cold, not smell, but it's only reality which can impinge on the eye base. Is it all now impinge on the eye base? Impossible. Just only one tiny reality which can impinge on the eye base and appear before there can be any shape and form to be known, to be taken for something right now. So the continuous of arising and falling away, continuity of that which arises and falls away so very rapidly for the idea by having shape and form as the idea of what is seen together, not just one dot. We just put one dot on the paper. It cannot be bird or cat or things at all, but many, many dots. It conditions the shape and form to be known as something. So now, the moment of arising and falling way of seeing and that which impinges on it so very fast, until as soon as one opens one's eye, what is seen is nimitta of all that which impinges on the eye, one moment at a time, very rapidly. The arising and falling away is not known at all. So how can it break up that which is seen and appears as something that actually is not? For example, what is touched, what is seen, what is there now? For example, the body, we can break it up to very, very tiny, like the dust. So if the dust is seen, it has to impinge on the eyeball. And when it's not the shape and the form of dust, more than that, how many moments of seeing? So what is now appears as shape and form by the succession of the arising and falling away. If nothing arises, if nothing is seen, can there be any nimitta? So in truth, every moment one lives in the idea of nimitta, all in one's life. Even at moment when one reality is object of understanding, the rapidity of the succession condition that to be object of thinking or awareness. But it has to be not just only one by way of process. Buddha taught about how fast it is, a moment is. In truth, only the moment of seeing sees. Thinking about one moment of seeing. And now, is it known as one moment which sees? But is the nimitta of many moments of seeing to be known? That's why all five khandhas, all kinds of khandha arising and falling away, must be appearing or knowing as nimitta. So it is nimitta of rupa khandha, even its heat or cold or hard. At this very moment, who knows that when it's just a touch of hardness, it's not like now. Break it down into just one tiny of one moment. It does not appear as it appears now, even it's hard. When it appears as hard, which is experienced, many, many moments of experiencing hardness. So in one's life, what appears as nimitta. Because without any reality, there cannot be any nimitta at all. So what we take for what is the nimitta of what that arises and falls away, and the experience it through one doorway at a time. At moment of seeing, hardness cannot be known, smell cannot be known. At moment of smelling, hardness cannot appear at all, but it's there. That's why the rapidity of the succession of all kinds of realities condition the nimitta of what is there now. Even the eye, many, many dots, many, many moments touching. The eye base condition moment of seeing just one process, which is not as it is, because what appears now as shape and form all the time. No matter what is there seen so short, but it can be breaking that up into many dots, see, even so short. Because the citta which experience the object which is seen is only one, while the other citta before it or after it share the same object, but does not perform the function of seeing. That's why what is seen now is seen not as clear because of other processes must be there in between, or even the processes of seeing, not only one, that what is their experience can appear as it is. For example, right now, beginning to understand the truth, even so very, very short moment of experiencing hardness, but hardness is enough as nimitta to be known. And this is the truth of what Buddha enlightened, of the way it is. Even Buddha or anyone cannot change Dhamma, the absolute reality. As it is now appearing, can there be the beginning of understanding the truth of that by thinking, considering, until it is object of awareness, one nimitta at a time. And when it's experienced, exactly the same, one nimitta at a time, because the process, each moment cannot be directly experienced. The panya cannot arise as the same. See, but there must be the Vanga and other process of mind before the see arise again. How fast it is. Is it not the way it is? Living in the world of nimitta, the succession of the arising and falling away of the very, very tiny, very short moment of what appears unknown. So what appears is only the nimitta of the reality. So when you think of something, so many, many nimittas through different doorways. Is now nimitta.
It is nimitta, but it's not known. It's known as it's not known that it is a nimitta. It's known as something, not as.
Is that
not as yeah.
When it appears as hardness, it's the nimitta of hardness which impinges on the body base. And many cittas arising before many bhavanga, and after seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, the process Dhamma has to be answered by conditions. What will be next?
Right.
And this is the meaning of the ultimate truth or absolute truth of a reality.
I think it's a good topic to continue next week, Alberto. So I think there's a lot more to go on the point you brought up and the explanation, so we can discuss it further. Yeah. Sawadee ka, Jan. Thank you.